Hi, I'm Arnar Sigurðsson. I am one of the creators of Hugmyndaþorp, which is a digital platform for innovation co-creation. And I would like to make this video today to talk about this platform, but specifically about a book that came out recently, a few weeks ago, called Mission Economy by Mariana Mazzucato. And the reason why I'd like to talk about the book is that a lot of the ideas there are very inspirational for us who are working on the Hugmyndaþorp platform. And so we've been reading it avidly, taking a lot of notes, looking into what inspiration we can get from this book in the technical development of the platform. So what our platform is all about is enabling communities to innovate together, creating a space where a vision can be woven together by many different institutions, companies, people, government entities, and so forth. And the way we see platforms is they are something that structures the way we communicate online. So in some ways they are the grammar of the internet. The way we interact with each other is somehow being structured and tweaked and, maybe if I use a negative word, manipulated. So it's important to have platforms that help structure our communication and help push us into the directions in which we want to work together. And so that's what motivated us to create Hugmyndaþorp. And the main argument of the book is that a lot of important innovation is created as an indirect result of bold, forward-thinking missions that often is led by the state, but involves the whole spectrum of society. So that was a rather incomplete introduction to her book. I'd really encourage you to read it. But the more important question is, what does it have to do with the platform that we're creating? Now, the platform, which you can see here, is based around three principal building blocks. These are challenges, ideas, and experiments. And as you can see, there is sort of a hexagonal board. And in the middle of a board, there is a theme, or we could say, in honor of Mariana Mazzucato, we could say a mission. So it's something that many people who may or may not know each other, may or may not work in the same institution, might not even work in the same field or same type of institution, they can use this platform to work together on a common goal. So in this case, I'm going to take an example of a mission which is sort of related to one mission that Mariana Mazzucato talks about, which is very relevant right now when a lot of people can't access physical services, which is access to online services. And this is also something that I worked with in the Westfjords and in rural and remote areas. As the whole of our lives goes online, then everybody being able to use it in a more or less equal way becomes a very important topic. So as I mentioned, the building blocks around this mission in the platform are challenges, ideas, and experiments. So we'll start with some challenges, and if this was a real scenario, we might start with a workshop or some field work or some kind of an investigation to try to understand what are the challenges that people are facing when they're using online services. So in this example, I'm going to imagine that we started with 3 challenges. And it's important to understand this is a, let's say, circular, this is a feedback loop. So even if we start with challenges, we might get more later. So let's imagine that we discovered that the unequal infrastructure. So let's say that rural areas have less access to high-speed internet. So another one might be lack of know-how. So people are different around how confident they are using online services. The third example challenge could be this lack of mobile support. Not everybody is using a computer these days. They might just use a mobile phone. And in many cases, government websites or some other important service that you might need to use is not optimized to use on a mobile phone. Each challenge is very different and touches upon different areas of our society. So there isn't going to be just one institution or one type of skill that's needed to solve this. And more importantly, we don't know beforehand what is the best way to solve some of these challenges. So we might need to try a few things. Some of them might not work. We should be unafraid of experimenting, and we should see the experimentation process as a part of the value itself. So not only the experiments that work are valuable, but also those that don't work. So if we talk about infrastructure is unequal, we could come up with a few ideas about how to solve that. And they should be in the beginning a bit abstract. So there might be multiple ways. One might be to simply put fiber optic cables into all remote and rural areas. Is this the most effective way to solve a problem? We might not know. It might change in 2 or 3 years. Another idea that could compete with that one would be satellite internet. Maybe fiber optic is just too difficult for all the areas. Maybe we're better off with just putting satellites out there that can beam the internet all over. And we don't need to decide beforehand where the cables are going. So we've got 2 competing ideas. Okay, so what is important here is that this is an open process. This is a platform that's online, on the internet. It can be shared with the community that sees these problems as important. You can get feedback on what you put there. There could be 3 more ideas, or 5 or 6, that could come from the users of the platform. And then we move on from ideas to experiments. And the difference between an idea and an experiment is that an experiment is a concrete execution of an idea that you can try out and you can learn from. So let's say, for example, satellite internet. We might look at a concrete company like Starlink, and we might decide to try. What if we gave everyone in a village an access to Starlink, satellite internet? This might be an experiment that we could try. We could see, is it stable enough? How much does it cost? Does it provide good enough bandwidth for what people want to use it for? So this would be, hopefully, would post the results of this experiment that other towns or villages could try this out. So let's say we were doing this in Iceland. Towns in Norway or Russia or wherever could look at this and see, how are these guys solving putting fast internet in remote and rural areas. So trying out Starlink is one experiment, and as I mentioned before, this is a circular thing. So we might find that using Starlink poses additional challenges. So it's like I said, a circular thing that can generate its own challenges that then generate ideas and then further experiments. Lack of know-how. How do you solve this? You can provide free classes to people where they can learn to use the computer, become more proficient. So we might want to try something that we could call digital caregiving, and looking at maybe the emotional barriers of using technology as much as just the hard know-how. So again, we could try this, and we could do an experiment in a local library to have a person there that you can seek out and get help. And we could try to record statistics about how that works, interview the people that use that service, and so forth. So as we've done that experiment, we get further information. And this is the important bit. So why are we putting it all in a platform? Why does this not exist just as a whiteboard somewhere? Why isn't there just a project manager that can keep all these things in their mind? The point here is that we are opening up the process so that we get further input from the community and that everyone can participate. So maybe there's a new startup that has an idea about how to solve these things. They can insert themselves into this process and they can say, hey, we invented this thing and it belongs here. And here's me, I want to participate in this. Or by looking at the experiments, by looking at the challenges, they might become more aware of what they need to be solving. So individuals, stakeholders, members of different types of communities, they can participate there. They could look at the challenges that somebody put there and say, look, these aren't the most important challenges. We all have stable internet. That's not the problem. What the problem is, what the challenge is this, whatever that is, and participate in this. Okay, so we've built a few tools in the platform, and they all have to do with helping in this co-creation process and making the innovation process accessible so that everyone can participate in solving the missions. If you click on the hexagons, you can see and put in further information, pictures, text, results, more arguments for whatever you're trying to say. You can also create a team around your experiment or your idea. People who see this, they can ask to take part. So this can be a tool to engage other people and recruit people to whatever it is you want to do. And then we have a discussion. And we've designed a discussion inspired by a method called the 6 hats. So the feedback that people are encouraged to give on the submissions to the platform, they are sort of structured. So slowly and surely, as we try this platform in multiple different experiments that we've been doing, we've been working within hackathons, remote and rural communities, within industry clusters, and we try using the platform and we try to learn from the process. And we build these tools that help open up and, let's say, make it more transparent and more democratic, the process of achieving missions, helping missions makers galvanize the public in this co-creation process. That's what we want to do. The platform is not the innovation process itself, but the platform is a tool to make it more open, to reach more people, and to inspire people using the internet for something worthwhile. First and foremost, check out this book. It's very inspiring, and I really think it leads us all into thinking about innovation, thinking about the economy and about missions in the right way. And if you want to go into this missions path, I really would encourage you to check out the platform that we are building. We are still operating in sort of a closed beta, which means that we are sort of looking for partners that are really inspired to work with us on developing this concept further. And if you have a community, a hackathon, a cluster, or you're a policymaker that wants to use mission-driven and mission-oriented ways, we might have a tool that could help do that.